What do you mean by making the body safe? Is that like just grounding?
Grounding. But it's a specific tool that we use to learn. It's not a concept.
Okay.
And that's the difference. When people come, and it's pretty hard for me to talk about it without actually doing it, because it's one of those things you have to experience. You know, it's like riding the bike. You don't know the experience until you've jumped on the bike. So it's a grounding tool, but in the class you begin to learn that it is not a concept. It's actually a physical event. It's imaginary, and yet it's not. Our imagination takes us very many places and actually can connect to the center of the earth and can make the body stronger. And we do actual physical exercises where you recognize, with and without this tool that I've just taught them, what the body feels like. They begin to notice, and that's what we do, is simply watch. Everything I teach is just simply awareness. So we give you one tool, you close your eyes, you sit for a moment and you say, oh, what's different? Oh, this just changed, this just changed. Oh my gosh, my shoulders just dropped. I'm breathing different, you know. They start to notice themselves what it is. Or, I just got a pain in my left shoulder when I started to ground my body. You know, I get anxious. What is that? You know, they start to find their own questions and their own answers within themselves, and I can just lead them through that. So that's one of the tools. We learn to actually feel what an aura is. What is this space around us?
Ooh. No, I'd love to know what that is, because I did hear that you do a term, it was called aura clearing or cleaning?
Aura healing. Yeah. I kind of call them aura fluffs.
Could you explain what is an aura, and
Sure.
how do you access that, and do you see it? Is it something that's visual?
Yes, it is very visual. It's visual if you're clairvoyant. And children actually, this is interesting, children actually see auras up till about the age of 6. And I always tell this story in my beginning class, one of my beginning classes, somewhere it always comes up, because the question is, what is an aura? Now, this is fun. When my son was little, one of my sons, he was about 4, I think. And we were laying in bed going to sleep. And I always read him stories. That was our time. And of course, like most children, that's the time when they would download something they were thinking about that day. So I'm reading the story, and he's, you know, looking around the room. And all of a sudden he says, Mom, do you believe in auras? Oh, I nearly dropped the book. I thought, what? Where did you even hear that word? Where would that come from? And I had just actually begun my own journey in this. So he was actually reading me. He heard the word. He was reading me, learning to explore this. Kids are so aware. So he said, what's an aura? And I did what most adults do. I started to go, you know, trying to figure out, how do I tell them? Well, it's an energy body around you. That's what it is. It is our energy body. It's an extension of ourselves. Well, it's this electromagnetic energy field, blah, blah, blah. My kid's looking around the room. And all of a sudden he picks up his arm and he goes, oh, you mean that yellow over here, and that orange over here, and that green? Yes. Yes, that's an aura. He says, thanks, Mom. Rolled over and went to sleep. That's it. See, they just needed to it's cat, dog, aura. Simple as that. They see it. He just didn't, no one had ever said what it was. Saw it all the time.
Do the colors have a significance?
They do. They definitely do. Your aura is your first line of defense. It's a very thin part of you, if you want to use that term, but it's an extension of yourself, extension of the body. The colors have significance. I don't do the usual, you can get lots of books on it, and they'll say red means this, green means this, yellow means that, orange means that. I find that that stops the intuitive awakening, to have a preconceived idea of what it means. And when I teach people, I'll just have them close their eyes, and if they see orange, I'll say, ask what it means. And then you just simply receive the answer. So sometimes orange will mean healing. Sometimes you might look at it and say, oh, orange is actually giving your body space to relax. Or you're using orange today to move your brother's anger out of your space.
So the color could mean something different depending on the person?
Yes, and each event. So always I keep it very present, where I'm always looking right there to see what it is they're doing.
And do we have more than one color at the same time?
Yes.
Or is it
many,
layers?
many. It's layers. There are about 7 layers of the aura. They don't go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like that. When you really see them, it looks like one of those funny paintings where it's, the aura moves. The colors move in and out all over the place.
Does it depend what you're feeling?
Yes, very much.
Like, can your feelings change the color?
Yes. If I read somebody at one point, and I'll read 7 layers of the aura, I could read them 2 hours later, and it would be very different. So people
It's just
will
a
come
snapshot in that moment in
It's
time.
right in present time. It's right now. Here it is. It's an interaction with life. It's an interaction with the journey, with energy that comes into your space, energy that's coming out of your space, whatever you're doing. So it's fully in motion, should be in motion. That's what it is. It's always a communication.
That's so interesting. When you said that children up to around age 6, they see that, why do we lose it?
There's the question. That's a great question. Yeah, children, what happens is we begin, that's about the time that we go to school and start our formal education. And part of what happens is up until that point, we're very much involved with simply getting our own information, getting our own answers, looking at the world. We see what we see. We receive information or receive it in the form of experience. But we aren't really asked to put anything else into us. We're just experiencing life however we experience it. About at the age of 6, when we go off to school, is when we usually ask them to put their attention outside of themselves. Now put your attention on the board. Now give me your attention. I don't have your attention, children. Give me your attention. It's not that that's a bad thing. It's just that we also don't at the same time validate the inner process. So suddenly they're not validated for what they know and what they see already as beings. We see them almost that we have to input information into them. So they begin to lose this ability to look outside for their answers that's already there, to let it simply come to them. And we also just simply don't validate it. We don't talk about energy. It's a world that just simply isn't talked about much. And so a child begins to lose that connection between the spirit and the body, which is quite natural. You ask most children, they will have, I've worked with children many times, they will tell you what colors are there. You may even have a child, very, very often, you'll see them, you'll reach over and grab something out of your space, little babies, or little 1 and 2-year-olds. They'll be looking at you kind of funny, and they're kind of looking off to your shoulder, and they're kind of laughing. You ever see a baby do that? They're completely looking at something that's in your space. They read it all the time. Watch them in the grocery store. I love to watch them. They'll just be like, looking around.
So then when you teach adults, you help us reconnect with what we already knew when we were children.
That's exactly it. It's just a memory. It's remembrance. It's really, like I said, no one comes without the equipment. So if you just want to play with it, you want to open it up, it's a new dimension you want to look for, you begin to have that ability again. What it is just simply taking the layers away that says it isn't real. Because we all know it is real. Somewhere we've all had an experience that crossed the line. I hear this so often. Everybody. And I haven't talked to almost anybody that doesn't have an experience that didn't jump the line somewhere. And then they can't fit it in to the other world. So they'll come to me. And we make sense of it. Yeah.
So what else do you teach in your classes?
Well, I teach a series of classes. I'm going to,
and that's in Petaluma. You do that here.
I'm based in Petaluma. Yeah, my office is in my home, but I also teach workshops. So we'll carry them somewhere else. I also teach over the